What happens when you have calculations where you got to do more than one at the same time, right? Lots of calculations will have multiplication and addition in it at the same time, or division and multiplication and subtraction and addition all at the same time. You got to keep track of the sig figs through the problem, but you don't want to do any rounding in the middle, okay? If you round in the middle of your problem, then you introduce error from rounding. So you don't do any of the rounding until the very, very end of the problem. But you got to keep track of where those sig figs and decimal places should be rounded. Okay? So let's walk through some of that and see if we can understand what that means. So take a look at this problem here. We got 3.489 multiplied by some stuff in parentheses. Okay? Well, order of operations says we should do the stuff in parentheses first. So when we do 5.67 minus 2.3, we get 3.37. And the rules for addition and subtraction say that my answer should have one decimal place. Do you agree with that? So the result of that 5.67 minus 2.3 should have one decimal place. But I don't want to do that rounding yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write that number down like this, and I'm going to put a line under where I should have rounded it to. Okay? Does that make sense? We're not rounding yet, but we're saying this is where I will round it. Okay? And now we're going to do the rest of the math. Now we're going to say 3.489 times 3.37. And when we throw that in the calculator, we get all of this. And now we're looking at multiplication. So the rule for multiplication is how many sig figs, the fewest number of sig figs. This thing has 4 sig figs. This thing only has 2 sig figs because we would have rounded to here. Okay? So because we would have rounded there, because that line is there, then we can only count 2 sig figs here. So my answer then can only have 2 sig figs. And so my answer then gets rounded to 12 with 2 sig figs. Does that make sense? You guys follow that okay? Keep track of where you would do any rounding by putting a line, an underline. And then use that underline to represent this is my sig fig or this is my decimal place when you're doing the last steps. Okay? Let's see if we can't work out a part here. So we got 6.78 times 5.903 times some stuff in parentheses. What do we do first? Stuff in parentheses. So I'm just going to write down 6.78 times 5.903 times, now you guys are going to tell me what is the result from the parentheses. .479. And where should I truncate that number? At the 7. So I'm going to underline that, okay? So now let's do 6.78 times 5.903 times 0.479. And you guys tell me what you get. Just the entire calculator garbage that you get there. What is it? Somewhere in the 20 range. 19.17? 1707. Okay, based on this stuff that we have up here, how many sig figs are here? 3. How many are here? 4. And how many are here? 2. We can only count 2 of those because of the underline, okay? So my answer then has to be truncated to 2 sig figs. So my answer here is 19.